Today, a personal life coach for personal growth and transformation. She has literally discovered this path as she lifted herself out of a dark space in her personal life. To suffer is a choice, and one can choose not to, was a revelation to her. Seeing someone in a similar place or live under the illusion that suffering is not her reality, by denying to acknowledge it is something she finds impossible. It's her life's purpose to make each person free from any kind of emotional bondage by walking through it, not by ignoring it. And while tools and techniques are effective, sound and energy are magical. What a session in sound can achieve effortlessly takes much work when done using cognitive mind. From a computer programmer in 1985 to a coach and healer in 2022, decidedly it's been a ride for her. Reinvention has been her identity. In today's episode, let us chat with Preeta. This is the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future. Friends, I'm your host, Navin Samala, a fellow IT professional on a mission to shape the careers and lives of millions across the globe. In every episode, we interact with industry experts or thought leaders or academicians or coaches or healers like Preeta across the globe to drive some insightful conversations that will help each one of you learn some amazing stuff. Also, we share an interesting trivia or a fun fact towards the end. And you will acquire more knowledge by tuning into TGV per every minute than any other podcast in this space. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we are going to discuss a topic, sound and energy healing. We are extremely pleased and honored to have Preeta part of the Guiding Voice journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. Preeta, I'm super excited to have you part of the show today. Welcome to TGV.
It's indeed my pleasure and honor that you've invited me. I look forward to this conversation.
Likewise. Thank you so much. And let's get started, Preeta. I was going through your profile and I was amused. IT programmer in 1985 and now a coach and healer helping thousands of people deal with anxiety, deal with personal challenges, problems, so on and so forth. So can you share with our audience the top 3 things that have contributed to your professional growth?
Yeah, sure. Like you mentioned, reinvention. So I guess one of the top 3 things is the ability to reinvent and the openness to reinvent. So I'm constantly willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think that's one of the key things. Very cliched, but looking at challenges as opportunities. I don't get phased if a challenge comes in front of me. I try and find my way out. And also focusing on what is the next best thing I can do. Rather than looking at a very large picture, I look at the next step. So these are the 3 things that have helped me.
Wow. Looking at the next best thing. That's so profound. And these shifts in the career trajectory, right? They must not have been very easy to navigate. How did you mold yourself and what allowed you to find these new directions?
So again, like I said, these are challenges. Like you've taken on a career and you think this is where you're going to progress, and life throws up a challenge, or life brings you in a point which may force you to take a U-turn or a different turn. So whenever I felt like it was a dead end or a blind alley, I again looked at what is new and what could I discover. So just to give you a small example over here, while I struggled to become a computer programmer in 1985, and you would remember in those days, world was very, very different. We were working on 32-bit machines, not like the world we are in today. And from there to reach a position where I don't have a job because I am in the tea estates of Assam, where there's no possibility for me to hold a corporate job. And I have to choose to become a teacher because that's the only profession you can do over there. So I studied, I did my B.Ed, and I became a teacher for the next 10 years of my life. So similarly, every time life brought me to a point, I learned and I reinvented myself.
Awesome. This is something quite a path which not many people choose to go for it and all, right? So yeah, very inspiring to see that. And now let's talk about the core of today's topic, Preeta. What is this sound healing all about?
Yeah. So if you had asked me in early 2016 what is sound healing, I would have said I have no idea what this means because I didn't know myself. Though I was familiar with healing of different types, I hadn't come across sound healing till then. And it is during that phase of my life, I had resigned from my job, a career of, that last job was 12 years with one organization. And I had given myself 3 years that in these 3 years, I will reinvent myself because I felt some dissonance with my purpose. And I was hunting around and I just came across this situation where somebody was conducting what is known as a gong bath.
Mhm.
I had no clue about what a gong bath meant. But I attended that session for 3 days, and it wasn't a comfortable session because sound can bring up a lot of hidden stuff. So it was a fairly intense session for me, but it showed me the power of sound, of how sound, through its vibrations and frequencies, can dislodge certain suppressed emotions which lie in your energetic body. Just to bring you up to speed, like we have a physical body which we are aware of, but along with the physical body, we have an energetic body. We feel vibes, right? We meet people, we sense a vibe. That vibe is energy. And sound healing works on that energetic layer. Does that answer your question to some extent?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe on a lighter note, that might be one reason why we respond to some high beats and all high energy beats when someone plays, especially if we happen to visit a pub or something, right? Automatically by responding, we respond to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are frequencies, and
Hmm.
just to go a little deeper into the subject, every cell in our body is actually vibrating at a certain frequency. So when we are babies, the frequency is very harmonious. If
Hmm.
you can see our body as not just joints and muscles and organs, but rather as a orchestra of different frequencies, every part in our body is vibrating at a certain frequency. And as we go through life, as we go through what life brings for us, some of the organs or some of the cells go out of tune, like an instrument goes out of tune. So we need to keep retuning it. And that's where frequency plays a very important part.
Hmm.
So certain frequencies align to us because we are already vibrating at that higher frequency. And when we are vibrating at a lower frequency, then we feel heavy and low and dense, and we feel stuck. We can't move forward. And when
Hmm.
we raise our frequency, we are able to move forward. So there's a physics about it. I mean, I'm sure you may have heard of cymatics.
Yeah.
So cymatics is sound creating images,
Hmm.
and also you may have heard the word entrainment.
No.
Entrainment, if you remember that physics experiment in school of pendulums being oscillating and then you striking one pendulum at the end
Yeah.
and finding that all pendulums then start moving at the same pace.
Yeah.
That's entrainment, basically
Hmm.
synchronization,
Oh. Hmm.
uh, by allowing the stronger and the more consistent frequency to overtake everything. So that's how sound healing works.
This is so enlightening and new learning for me. And who should opt for sound healing and how can they go about it?
So when you say opt for sound healing, there are two ways to. One is to accept or receive the sound healing as a recipient. Like I'm going through an emotional state, or I'm finding some kind of a stress in my life, and I want to relax. So I can go for a sound healing session where that sound will allow my body, mind, spirit to come to a equanimous state. Other way the question can be interpreted is that I want to learn sound. So, to learn sound healing, I would like to say that first of all, you have to understand how healing works because healing doesn't work with the left brain. Healing works with the right brain and more the heart space. So, if you're a very logical, very analytical, very left brained kind of person, you'll have to learn how to trust something which is not the left brain, not just the mind. Like in yoga, we believe in breath, and
Hmm.
breath works. If you ask for scientific explanation, I may fall short of giving you a proper scientific explanation for it. But we know through experience that, yeah, if I just focus my attention on breath, I can heal myself of certain stresses. So somebody who has an open mind who's willing to try out something which is different can become a healer. Now, once the person is a healer, sound healing is another aspect. One thing I want to say is that you don't have to be musically trained or an expert instrument player to be a sound healer. In fact, a lot of people who are trained in music have to unlearn some aspects to allow sound to become healing. Otherwise, it can become a mental exercise that I'm creating a tune and I'm very focused on what tune is being created. Sound healing is not about, it's not, so music and sound are slightly different. Music is organized sound, which also heals. But sound healing, the way I practice it, is about frequencies and vibrations, not about music.
Excellent. And you said healing, in case if somebody wants to be a healer, they have to undergo a course by themselves and probably understand it deeply. So in that sense, can this healing be a career? Like you are a healer now. Like, is it a full-time career?
For me, it is. And the way I look at it is that to become a healer, you have to first go through your own self-healing journey. Because it's not something you can learn just by theory or just by, taking a course or whatever.
Nice.
So any kind of healing modality, when you go through that healing modality, you practice it on yourself. Typically, like just to give you an example, if you're learning Reiki is the one healing modality. 21 days it's mandatory for you to do the healing work on yourself. If you don't practice it on yourself, then it's just theoretical. So to be a healer, first thing is you have to go through your own self-healing journey. And for me, the journey has been very long because I started my self-healing journey in 2008. And I went through many modalities and many ways of healing and seeing the magic, seeing how it is changing my emotional state. Like I can give you another example. Like when I was going through a huge depressive state in my life, many people suggested that why don't you go to a psychiatrist, because then they will understand your mind and give you medication or whatever. But something in me didn't agree with that, and I decided to go the alternative way, what is known as the alternative. And through energy work and through energetic modalities, I was able to come out of that situation without taking one medicine. Having said that, I don't mean to say that medicines don't work, but something else can also support that journey. So along with medication, you can also practice alternative therapies. So to be a healer, first go through your own self-healing journey and see what works for you. Because not all healers are doing all modalities. I mean, there are so many ways you can heal yourself.
Yeah, that's clear. So, I came across this word. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ho'oponopono. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah, it's Ho'oponopono.
Okay. Ho'oponopono. So what is it all about?
So it's a Hawaiian practice which believes that, so pono as a word means to make right. And ho is like a participle. It's like a verb, converting a noun into a verb. So it's saying that to make right and twice, which means that, so basically it's a Hawaiian practice which was brought to the Western world by somebody known as Dr. Hugh Len. He's a Hawaiian psychotherapist. And he translated this religious practice into a psychotherapy tool. Basically saying that when we come into this world, we come with a clean slate of a soul. We don't have any what he calls data. But as we live life, we start noting down data. Data means memories, experiences, expectations, disappointments. Everything gets written on that whiteboard. And through these so Ho'oponopono is basically 4 sentences. I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. Now, these are just 4 very simple sentences which we use so commonly.
Yeah.
But here, when it is done with a certain intention, it actually cleans out some energetic vibration and cleans out all that you're holding against people and life. In fact, the main story goes that there's this mental ward in a prison in Hawaii where the inmates were so dangerous that no staff lasted there long enough because you couldn't walk in that ward with your back exposed. Somebody would come and attack you. So the warden was so frustrated, he contacted Dr. Hewlin that, can you do some work for us? And in the time that Dr. Hewlin did that work on that ward, the mental ward had to be disbanded after some time. There were no patients left. Everybody got cured. And he did not go and meet each of the 400 inmates. He sat with their files and did this clearing work on himself. So again, to the logical mind, it may seem absolutely impossible, but it's a proven fact. You can read about it anyway. There's a book called Zero Limits. In that book, it is all mentioned. So that is what Ho'oponopo is, a prayer of forgiveness and reconciliation. And it's very effective. I conduct these 30-day sessions with Ho'oponopo prayer, and people find that life becomes very, very harmonious as you practice these.
So we are so habituated to using logic, analysis, and people call it analysis paralysis, and too much of intellect to understand and to solve problems, right? And much of what you speak is of energy, vibration, and does not use the left brain faculties. But tell us, how does this work?
Yeah, so the one that wants to understand is the left brain. The left brain wants to understand this. But this is more about feeling and allowing things to happen. So it's for the left brain, it's absolutely impossible to understand. So somewhere you have to drop it and say, okay, fine, let me just experience it. It's like when you go for a meditation exercise. If you go and first time somebody says, okay, just close your eyes, sit with your back straight and bring your attention to your breath. It's impossible. You can't do it because your mind is constantly pulling your attention away. So, but we know, like I mentioned earlier, we feel vibe. We feel a positive vibration. When we love somebody, our heart seems to expand. These are not something that the left brain is doing. It's the right brain's work which is happening. So, how does this work? Difficult to explain, but I would say that a lot of work has been done on this. So there is an emotional chart, if you can see, where there's a grid, and there are lower emotions and there are higher emotions. Now, the emotions, what we call negative emotions, are actually what is lower frequencies. It's not negative in the sense of being bad emotions. It's just lower frequency. So when we talk of the energy, we talk about frequencies. When we are operating from lower frequencies, there is no movement. It's stuck. But when we elevate those frequencies, and people ask me, how do I elevate my frequency? So there are many ways of doing it. Simple ways: turn to gratitude. Now, it may seem very, like I'm saying, this simplistic. But moment you start looking at what can I be grateful for, your vibration will change. The frequency you're operating from goes to a higher level. And gratitude is actually one of the highest. It's at 900 hertz. Whereas fear, anger, pride, these are all very low frequencies. So, yeah, that's the best I can explain in such a short time. But point is that we feel it. Like suppose you meet a stranger. You don't know much about the person, but you meet the person and just maybe through eye contact or just a smile, you feel, yeah, this is a nice person. I would like to know the person more. What is happening over there? Logically, that person may not be anywhere in your checkbox. Like, I like these kind of people, but something in the energy just vibes. So that is what is energy.
So one dumb question. You said this anger and all are at the lower scale of this grid chart. Is that the reason why people get angry quicker than demonstrating this gratitude?
So the thing is that why do we get angry? There could be many reasons, many experiences, conditioned responses why we are angry.
Okay.
And actually, they say that anger is not really anger is a symptom.
Yeah.
You're angry because you're disappointed or you're grieving and are not being able to express it, or it's your own incompetence and that's why you're getting angry. So we are vibrating from a lower frequency. Angry people cannot be grateful people. If you're a grateful person, you won't be able to get angry as frequently as an angry person. So for an angry person, how do I change my anger? Simple exercises with breath and stuff like that, but just bring in gratitude. Just start observing what can you be grateful for. And it is not about just the large things and just the obvious things. You start with them, but then you start going down to really, really subtler objects or aspects of your life for which you can be grateful, even in a very, very negative situation.
Mhm. All right. Yeah, that's clear. And now let's talk a bit about your journey to where you are today, because you said you have overcome some negative things in life and you have undergone personal healing and now you have transformed yourself into a healer. So, what, if any, were the fears you faced and overcome? How did you do that?
The biggest fear that human beings have is of feeling secure. That's a fear that all of us have. So definitely at crucial points in my time, that was one fear, that am I going to be safe when I take this decision? So that was one fear. And again, how did I overcome them? Through many practices, but basically learning to trust life, to trust that there is something which is always supportive. That, and I, as an individual, have not got to be a doer. And the other fear is of, associated with this about financial security, because money is an important aspect of our lives. So whenever you make a change, you have to see how financially secure you feel. And it's not about how much money you have in the bank, it's about how you feel about the money that you have in the bank. I can have crores and still feel financially insecure. And I can have a lakh and I can feel very financially abundant. It's just a mindset.
All right. Yeah, that's so profound again. And how do we find what's one's true purpose as the person we are? Like, because people say you are born for a cause and all. I don't know if you believe in it, but how do you find one's true purpose?
Yeah, so this is a very commonly asked question. What I have learned is that we make this purpose that, oh, I want to be the best whatever, like, best doctor or best engineer or best coder, or, we choose these kind of very high purposes for ourselves, which is also a starting point. I mean, you choose something that you like to do. But I like to go back to Ikigai over here, because Ikigai actually brought my attention to what I really wanted to do in life, because I could have continued in my job. I mean, my job was financially secure. I was in a position of power. I was making an impact on a certain amount of lives. But somewhere it did not align to my own purpose of how I wanted to live the rest of my life. And so I decided to take a break. I left my very financially secure job to move into this world which is not financially secure, because I don't have, and at present state, I mean, I don't have any regular income. My income is erratic. I have no, there's no, it doesn't work according to a plan. People don't reach you through a plan. Having said that, I feel the purpose of human existence. I mean, I'll be saying something which is very, like, philosophical or spiritual at this point, but is just to be fully present in whatever you are doing at the moment. Like, there's a story which goes around that, a wood chopper, woodcutter, is cutting wood, and he's asked this question, that what will you do after you're enlightened? He says, I'll keep cutting wood, because your work doesn't change. It's how you're working, where you're working from changes. Or another story that, a person could be breaking stones for making a road, and he's saying, oh, I'm breaking stones. And the other person could be breaking the same stones and saying, oh, I'm making a difference in so many people's life by creating this pathway. So it's where you're coming from. So basic purpose, I would say, is that, to find yourself, who you truly are. Because half the time, I think we live most of our lives believing what people think about me, how people should see me, and the labels they have put on me. And we don't really know who we are. And a lot of choices that we make are based on what society has, designed for us. Because the kind of life I'm leading now is not along any template. So you have to break the template sometimes to find yourself and to find your true purpose, actually.
All right. So, yeah, I was talking to Kavita about you, and she told me to ask two things, two incidents that have happened in your life, and share with our audience if you're comfortable.
Two incidents in my life which changed my course of life. Let me start with the more recent one.
Yeah.
So I just came to a point to say that I would like to live a slower and a more, closer to nature kind of life. And so I, like what we were discussing just before the call, that I actually put my house on rent. I have an apartment in Gurgaon, and I packed my things, put whatever fitted in the car, and just had a kind of a loose plan. Okay, let me go to this area and spend some time. So right now I'm in Rishikesh, and I don't know how long I will be here. But yeah, so my house is in my car, and I'm like just on the road, so to speak. But I mean, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. I mean, I have the ability if I need to halt somewhere or if I need to make a base. Like right now, I have taken a base in Rishikesh,
Mhm.
but for the last month or so, I have been in and around Uttarakhand, different areas, just exploring life, just getting new experiences. And I'm living basically off the rent that I'm earning from my own flat.
Wow.
Yeah, that is one. And earlier, so leaving my secure job and moving into the unknown was another life-changing experience because that really exposed me to uncertainty. It's like welcoming uncertainty. But what really brought me onto this journey was when I decided to walk out of my marriage,
Mhm.
a 23-year-old marriage, and
Oh my
that was
God.
12 years ago. And I decided that I needed to move out of that relationship because that was not really allowing me to grow. And that was a scary point because I was already 47, not a young age to take that decision, and I did not really have a support system. But I decided to do that because it felt the only way forward. And I fought my own demons. You asked about fear. So these were the fears at that time. I mean, am I going to be safe as a single woman in this country where women are not generally safe? And will I be financially secure? Will I be able to manage my life for the rest of my life, with financial security without any financial assistance from anyone? So, yeah.
That's so interesting, actually. And yeah, kudos to you on taking that particular risk. And yeah, so inspiring. So, Preeta, now let us boost the energy levels of our audience. I'm going to quickly open a rapid fire round just to lighten up the mood of the listeners and the viewers. If you're okay, let me fire the first bullet.
Sure.
All right. So,
Shoot.
what has been your childhood fantasy, Preeta?
I wanted to be a horse rider, if you please.
Okay. So what's your favorite book?
And the book was Black Beauty.
Uh-huh.
If so, Black Beauty was about a horse, and that's where, yeah.
I heard about the book, but I haven't read myself. Yeah. All right. Now, can you describe yourself in just one word?
Resilient.
Spot on. All right. And what is one thing that you would change in your past?
The one thing if I could change, would be to know how to love myself the way I am. I learned it very late in life.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was great. And last one for the rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
Not invent myself because I don't have that kind of a brain, but yeah, I would definitely like a gadget. When we talk of energy, there should be a gadget which can measure the energy and say, okay, this is the energy level, today. This is the vibration this is the frequency you're vibrating on. That would be lovely.
Yeah, interesting idea actually. Again, I keep telling all my listeners pick up all these as a startup ideas and come up with a energy meter kind of device. I think
Yeah.
Preeta would be the first one to purchase.
So do I have 1 minute to share something?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So there are devices in today's world which
Hmm.
measure aura and which measure frequency. There are
Oh,
devices.
is it so? Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with some of those devices, but they're not like a thermometer. I would like something which is like a thermometer, like you put it in your body and you know exactly what it is. Because today, what it is there's still amount of gray space over there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right, great, fascinating rapid fire. And before I let you go, one final question for today's conversation, Preeta. What will be your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in their careers or lives?
The question I would like them to ask themselves is is my sec- so am I doing this job or this career for security, and is my security becoming my bondage? Because I feel that that's where we all get caught. We become slaves to our security.
Mhm.
Learn to be insecure, it's fine.
Awesome. All right. So that was so mesmerizing conversation. And thank you so much, Preeta, for joining me today. It was indeed pleasure talking to you. Really
Thank,
honored to have you as part of the Guiding Voice journey in shaping the lives and careers of millions across the globe.
thank you so much for having me. It was really interesting talking to I think, a younger audience.
Definitely. I'm sure our audience are going to love every bit of this conversation and take the wisdom positively. Yeah, this is so much of energy and so much of vibration. I could sense it. All right. So before we move into the trivia section, folks, here is a small request to you. In case if you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe from the app where you have tuned in from so that you'll be notified about all the future episodes. Also, if you have loved this conversation just like I did and found it useful, please share with at least three of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from the guiding voice so that they will learn new stuff like you and we will gain a set of new subscribers. Thank you so much in advance. Now, let's hop into the trivia section of today's episode. And today's trivia is again about healing. So, we have got a lot of insights from Preeta about energy and sound healing. And now, let us dive deep and understand whether this energy healing is based on scientific principles. So, as per a study, energy healing is based on the principles of physics, which Preeta has mentioned. In fact, this establishes that everything in this world is made up of matter, and that matter in itself is made up of molecules. Anything that is solid and has matter tends to vibrate all the time. So that's why even human beings vibrate. The environment around us has good or bad vibes depending on the energy levels. People, surroundings, and objects all have vibes. And energy healing incorporates good vibes in an individual, which helps in speeding up the healing. That's why if you observe people who are stress free and happy, they vibrate at a higher frequency. And in fact, it gets cascaded to others also. And a room where a bitter quarrel has taken place will have dense negative vibes. That's all for today, folks. And thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, a fellow IT professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make a difference in the careers and lives of millions across the globe. Until next time, bye bye. See you in the next episode.